Hey Craig, let's this time I think we do it a lot anyway, so let's get it on tape for our listeners. A little bit of conversation and banter. I think this podcast I like to listen to that I think make a valid point of it's great to have structured topics.
Yep.
It's also good to just kind of shoot the crap, a little bit and talk about the stuff we care about in our space.
I don't know if my OCD can handle that, but let's try.
Let's try. That's an area.
I don't mind having a chat, but no structure.
No structure, no agenda.
Hear me. Yeah. Well, what are we supposed to do then? Yeah.
I think it's an area, funny enough, where you and I are different, both about our lives and our training, and which is good. I mean, it complements each other. I think our styles that way. So I tend to just roll with it. I don't get flustered, or I'm pretty much nonplussed all the time, whether it's training or anything. That works for me. But not everybody can do that.
So. Yeah, no, I err more on the intense side. There's no question about that. Yeah. I mean, that's very echoed in the training style, right? Like I think I've shared with you the story before where when I was talking with Chris Cormier, he was saying, he said to me, he's like, okay, Craig, the way that I want you to start training now is like Lee Haney said, stimulate, don't annihilate.
Right.
So I just want you to focus on stimulating the muscle. He goes, I got a feeling that up to this point, you've been annihilating. I'm like, I look like an annihilator, do I? And he's like, yes. So, and you know what? He is 100% right, because that's actually one of the things that's kind of impeded my progress over the years was just being too intense and pushing too hard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, a lot of people out there say, overtraining is a myth or something like that. But, since I dialed my intensity and volume back, I've made better gains. So it is a thing. And I think that's probably a mentality issue or like a personality issue more than a physical issue.
Yeah. So let me ask you, because you've mentioned that before too, about you going too far.
Yeah.
For too far for you, is it too much volume? Is it too many like beyond failure sets, or is it both?
Yeah. So it's the whole laundry list, really.
I'm guessing both.
Yeah. It's so, especially when people are pushing the mantra of progressive overload and also of intensifiers, I would be pushing the progressive overload as hard as possible. So like, if you've seen Trained by JP, Jordan Peter, if you've seen him train, he's incredible, but he can recover from it. So that's the difference. Right? If you go and train like him and you cannot recover from it, then you do not progress like he does.
Right. Yeah. Excellent point.
Instead, you actually can take a step back.
Yeah.
Because you overtrain and you can't recover from your previous workout. If you can't recover from your previous workout, then the next time you train, you're at a disadvantaged state. And then you try to go at it again and you can't.
Yeah.
And perhaps even worsen it.
Yeah.
But at the bare minimum, delay things.
Yeah.
And that was the cycle that
you're wasting time.
Yeah, that was the cycle that I fell into.
Okay. Yeah.
It's just like, I would push too intensely. And I mean, I'm one of those people where if I'm doing cardio, like I've actually felt this recently with the cardio that I've been doing, but it's like, I honestly don't feel any need to stop. Like, I could just keep going, and I don't know how long I could just keep going.
Somebody to find out.
I don't want to find
curiosity.
I'll walk off the elliptical.
Do an ultra marathon on
140 pounds or something, right? And I don't want to do that. So, but that sort of stuff, right? So, was it too much volume? Was it too much? I just think it was too much intensity. It was
too much intensity.
Too much weight. too many reps, too many intensifiers.
Yeah.
It was just ape shit.
Yeah.
Right? That's the only way I can describe it, really.
Yeah.
But that's what I kind of, especially because as a kid growing up watching Dorian Yates' Blood and Guts videos, that was what I thought was required.
Yeah.
To grow.
Yeah.
And it is, but it isn't. You know, there's that, there, even in this context, there's balance.
Yeah.
But the thing is I didn't understand that the balance was more on outside of the gym. That was important.
Recovery.
As a recovery part. I didn't realize that that was as important as it is. And I also didn't realize that I'm the type of person that can, like, I can recover quick enough to push through another workout.
Yeah.
But that's not the same as being fully recovered and being able to push to a new level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting to say that, because I think, you know, for a very long time, recovery wasn't really talked about.
Yes.
For whatever reason.
Yeah.
And then people started talking about, like you said, oh, you know, you can't overtrain, you can only under recover.
Yeah.
Or under training is not a thing.
Yeah.
So the idea that recovery needed to be respected as an important part of your paradigm kind of got pushed to the side over and over again. Like, people didn't want to take it seriously, so it got neglected. And someone like yourself, who kind of pushed it maybe a little too far, found, no, this is a very real thing. Like, I really do need to give myself some time to recover. And that's something I think everybody has to find out for themselves, because there's the psychological recovery, there's the CNS recovery, there's the overall systemic recovery. All these things matter, and each one may move faster than the others, and then move faster than the others for each individual too. It makes a big difference. And the Dorian Yates thing, I mean, I loved watching that kind of training. It was much later for me, because I was pretty much, no, I was definitely done by training by the time Dorian Yates really came around. Done with competing, not done with training. Sorry.
Sure.
You know, but I loved watching that kind of training, so I like to train hard too. But I think maybe because I read Menser at a very young age, and he had some wacky ideas, but some good ideas. And one of the things he talked about, which I may have mentioned in an earlier podcast, was he was talking about, you know, as you get bigger and stronger, you have to do less in a way, because the amount of force you're generating, the effort your body is creating is greater. Which means you can't do the same amount. Physically, you can't do the same amount, because you can't ultimately get bigger and stronger. We're not the Hulk that gets stronger when we get angrier. You know? And the whole you dig deeper, you know, as you push harder, right? The bigger you are. Someone like Dorian Yates, if he trains like a huge amount of volume, the pit of recovery is going to dig for himself is going to be bottomless, right? And he knows that. So that's maybe part of why he trained that way, amongst other things as well. But yeah, I found, obviously age has a factor, but when I was younger, I started with Arnold's book. So I trained 6 days a week when I was 15 years old in my garage. And that worked because I was 15, you know, my genetics were okay. So my system accommodated it. And I probably wasn't training maximally. But as I got older and trained harder, things changed. And I've mentioned to people before, there's been discussions on Pro Muscle about this not too long ago, about Dante's training, about DC training, dog crap training. Which is my favorite kind of training. Which I deploy in some way or another all the time. I don't always go all out with it. I tune it to my my standards. But after 30 years of training pyramid sets or whatever, my you know, training Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and a 2-way split, and doing the same thing, when I went to DC and dropped to 3 days a week, and trained really hard but shorter, I progressed in my late 40s. You know, my back particularly, which I targeted, because when I came back to competition, I felt, you know, contests are won from the back, you know. So I put everything in my my back probably doubled in thickness in a few years in my 40s. That's because of the training was just, for me, more efficient. It worked good on me. And I acknowledge not everybody that works for them, but I think it had that right balance of intensity and recovery for me.
Like dog crap is a much lower volume approach, right? So like that's, and so I think that there's like a volume and intensity trade-off. So you can train high volume, but you cannot train high volume at extremely high intensity.
No, you can't do both. It's not possible.
And I think that's kind of where I went wrong, because
you try to do both.
Yeah, because but I didn't know I was trying to do both. It's because I was just going too hard on a high volume program.
Yeah,
I think it was more like it. And then when I went to like a lower volume high intensity program, that was fine. But like another one that I absolutely loved, but I would annihilate myself on, were the Mountain Dog programs. By Meadows. Like they're so much fun, because there's like so many different exercises in there, and it's like a 12-week program, but it's like a journey, right? It's like you start out and you got these kind of exercises, on chest day you'll be doing this kind of press, and then on the next chest day it'll be different, and then the next chest day will be different, but then it'll go back, and this time, instead of doing the high volume, we're going to do low volume, right? All this stuff. And it was like, you could see that
it's an adventure.
But like you could see that like John knew exactly what he was doing, right? It's like, the intensity would ramp up over time, then there'd be a little bit of a break, and then it would like, same thing. So these programs were all like incredibly well thought out.
Yeah.
And a lot of, like, as I said, they were like an adventure. So it was like a lot of fun. To run them, but I don't think that that's required.
No, I wouldn't. No,
I think that a sensible approach to, and now when I look at progressive overload, I don't look at it in only on the metrics of reps or weight. A big one for me, after having gone to learn from Mike, was Mike Van Wyck, was the execution.
Yeah.
So it's the execution of the movement. And if the execution of the movement isn't there, to me, then that means the volume's not there. Like it doesn't count, No,
it's true. Yeah, it isn't. Yeah. It's so easily overlooked, execution, because it's very hard to be objective about execution.
Yeah.
It's really hard to be a naturally good executor. That's the word.
No, absolutely, because you are overriding so many things in order to execute correctly. Like, for example, in a chest press, trying to drive the motion, trying to drive all movement primarily with just your pecs,
right, is
very hard to do.
Yeah,
because you've got your arms, you've got your shoulders, you've got all the connective tissue in through those joints. It's a multi-joint movement, so you've got a ton of like connecting tissue. You've got your rotator cuff, you've got like, everything. You can arch your back and you can get lats into it, if you're like doing a flat bench or something. So like just to drive off of the pec is actually very difficult to do.
Yeah.
You have to override a lot of things that are like very natural.
Yep.
Naturally included
what the body wants to do.
But you know what I find is interesting, and I don't know, I'm going a little bit tangential here, but
that's what
we're supposed to do, right?
Right. Yeah. Please.
Yeah, I got this. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've found that as I'm getting leaner, I'm seeing a level of separation that I've not seen before. And it's really weird because it looks like you see my triceps and they're there.
Getting what dug out
here.
Yeah.
And my delts are here. And my pecs are here.
Right.
And like it's all separated. And I can't help but wonder if that's a result, and I might be just like completely prep head and totally stupid by hypothesizing this, but I can't help but wonder if it's because the emphasis that I've been trying to place on the training has been so much on pulling those stabilizer muscles out. In fact, they're not getting that stimulated, which is allowing the larger muscles that I am targeting and that I am specifically training to appear sharper.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just a cracked out theory, and we'll see how I actually look on stage. But in terms of like I'm pretty lean now. So like this, it's becoming quite apparent, and I've looked at myself a couple times. This is why working out at the So I wear the rental gear at the Tokyo American Club when I train there.
Oh, okay.
And it's like a very unflattering blue top and unflattering gray pants, right? Gray shorts, right? And I get them because they're made for normal people. I get a really big size, so it's like a tent, double XL. And then so I never really kind of see how I look, right? And that's been interesting this prep, because it's like then when I take my shirt off, I go, oh wow, that's changed, right? Like yeah. So but there has like legitimately been a couple times where I've looked at myself and I've gone, this is very different, from looks I've had in the past.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's going to be hard to be objective about that until you can get photographs and put them side by side, right? Because you say it could be prep head, but if it is there, I mean, if the only thing you've significantly changed is the way you train, then you kind of have to say it has something to do with how you train. Whatever remains, regardless of how impossible, is the only thing that is possibly the truth, right? I mean, that's
and then someone can do a scientific study on it and tell me I'm lying and I'm totally wrong.
That what you see is not what you see.
We found that when we were training inexperienced athletes, that it caused no further muscle separation. Okay, great. Thanks, guys. Thanks for your time.
I mean, separation is definitely a gift that you have or you don't have. I mean, you can look at someone like Phil Heath, who's so separated, looks like individual muscles, and you have someone like Jose Raymond, who knows how to train but has zero separation, basically. I don't think it would be that way if he could do anything about it. So clearly you can't do anything about it if you don't have it. But there may be ways of training that can enhance how you fire muscles that does enhance the separateness of them, because if you are doing it the way we want to, you are firing that muscle exclusively,
just that muscle. So that's what, like, if you like in the delt or whatever, right? Sort of chest to shoulder to chest tie-in area. If you're trying to pull the stabilizers out and you're focusing mainly on the pec and trying to pull all of the stabilizing muscles out, then I would think that the stabilizing muscles should not hypertrophy at the same rate as the pec itself would.
They shouldn't.
And if that's the case, then perhaps over time that can create that illusion.
I mean, if we hold true the maxim that the muscle spends much less effort being static than contracting or eccentric, then you can look at the delts in a bench press, if you're optimally focused on the pecs, of having not static, but a static-ish movement, a much de-emphasized contraction and eccentric movement, then more the efforts going into on the pec, for example. You could see that happening. I mean, it's possible, it's very hard to study. But if you see a difference,
well, I'll tell you in 6 weeks. How's that?
I mean, when I was
my N=1 study,
I'll
be releasing the details in approximately 6 weeks time.
I don't know how much of a thing it is now, because when I train in a gym now, I'm not surrounded by bodybuilders. But in the 90s, everybody's around us, and one of the things we always talked about training for separation. Separation, I think, was like one of the most valued things in the 1990s, before bigger than mass. Before mass was a thing, we wanted shape and we wanted separation. The most treasured thing in 1991 around me was big legs with great sweep on the outside, with complete separation of all the muscles in it. No blurriness, no merging of fascia. It was everything popped individually. That was the thing everybody wanted, and of course delts and all that kind of stuff. But that a nice sweeping separated quad was the grail back then.
Neat. See, I've always been able to get my legs to separate, so that's not so much of an issue. It's the but it's kind of more like the upper body stuff. But again, it could also be a function of all the surgeries I've had. Can't rule that out either. So
we're not going to advocate surgery for separation.
No, it's not. And also, like, as I said, I mean, that's resulted in like peakier biceps for me, but that's not the way to achieve them, folks.
No. My biceps peak. Speaking of that, it's funny because I'm on, Pro Muscle is probably one of the nicest, most respected, whatever you want to call it, bodybuilding boards out there, forums, and my pictures are out there. People see me and stuff, and they say compliments, which is nice, and people say like my arms are good. I think I have terrible arms myself, and one of the reasons why I think I have terrible arms is most people don't see me hitting bicep shots. And my biceps are not bad, but the weird thing about my arms, I'm not going to hit a bicep shot right now. Maybe I should. I don't know. My arms don't seem to change very much when I hit a bicep shot. The biceps get shorter, but they don't go up. They defy physics. Like less muscle is in the long body. I'll actually do it. Okay, like straight arm, and then the peak.
I don't know what you're talking about. It large bicep to me that's contracting.
It just doesn't seem to me.
What am I missing
that much? Anyways, like to my eyes, like when I see a bicep roll up and vacate that space in front of the elbow, I see a proportional rise. But for me, it feels like, if it's not the case, but if I measure my arm at like straight 19, flex, it'll be 19. Like that's what I.
No. That's like prep head, but not in prep.
No, that's all the time. Yeah,
that's just straight up body dysmorphia there.
I guess so. Yeah.
No, that's funny though, because like, I mean, your arms are very, good. So yeah,
really not the terrible. They've always been undersized. Even when back in the day when I was training at Gold's Gym in Everett, Mass. And I go up there to train next to Paul DeMeo, just to be inspired. There's a guy in there, Louis Solius. He had won the Junior USA, and he was Paul's coach-ish, and helped lots of people in the area. The only comment he ever gave me was my arms were inferior to the rest of my build.
But see, this is what's happened though. That's just stuck in your head, and now you can't shake it because that's totally wrong.
Or my shoulders are too big for my arms. I don't know. It depends, but I'm not going to shrink my shoulders, so fuck that, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's not. I don't think that's the case at all.
Yeah. I don't know. Separation made me think about that for some reason. I don't know why.
What's that?
It's talking about separation made me think about how my muscles move when certain ones are flexed, which doesn't match my ideal, I guess.
Well, yeah, but I mean, do you want to start that conversation about what doesn't match your ideal? Like, I don't think
it'll be a long conversation.
It would be a very long conversation. Yeah. One thing I will say too, though, is I'm 6 weeks out. When I was 10 out, I felt like I was 6 out. Because that's when it really started to hurt.
Yeah.
And then a couple weeks ago was the same, like still really suffering. And well, now I feel much better because I have food that's been added back in instead of taken out. So I'm still over the moon about that. But I have noticed, I think it might actually be a function of doing the prep, wearing those clothes at the TAC, that I actually I have not been inside my head as much as I usually am.
That's interesting.
And I'm actually more pleasantly surprised when I see myself in the mirror because I don't see myself all the time.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because I don't know if I should be like in previous preps, just to, to put it out there, every time I looked at myself in the mirror, I would see a flaw. I would see I'm still fat. I would see that I'm too skinny. I've lost all my muscle, and those were the constant thoughts that would, come over and over and over again. But I haven't really had that this prep. And I think that is probably because I haven't been looking, because I've been covered up.
Well, yeah. If you're not looking, you can't hyper-criticize.
And then if you just see yourself like, whatever, when you're getting into the shower or something like that, and you see yourself for like what, maybe grand total of a minute every day.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to get all up in your head about that.
You're not going back in the mirror like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. So the question will be where I land. but
yeah,
I don't feel like when I look at my pictures, my check-in pictures and stuff, I'm like satisfied with where they are and the way that I look. So I almost think that this might be a viable strategy, as in cover up when you're prepping.
Yeah.
Instead of wearing that. Now, that said, I did just get a couple of tanks to start training in.
Yeah.
But I think I'm pretty much done now. So perhaps I won't be as much in my head. But
yeah,
I don't know. Like I just kind of think that maybe there might be something worth using here if you're the type of person that really gets into your head during prep.
Yeah. I think there's definitely a place for that. If you hyper criticize yourself and you can't avoid it, and you're mentally weaker about it because you are in prep, it's definitely something to look into. And of course, if you can cover up, especially if you have a coach who is giving you that objective evaluation once in a while, you don't have to worry about hyper valuing yourself frequently because someone else is going to look at you and give you maybe a more rational view. So you can cover up. You can afford to cover up if that's something. I never use the coach, which is somewhat of an irony because I'm talking about coaching people. I think it's just because of where I came from and how I came from. We just didn't have coaches back in that day, so I do it myself. That's good or bad, but when I was in prep, I'd be a total workout in Roppongi and I have a tank top on. I look in the mirror, and if I didn't have like the fat and like too fat or not problem. I definitely had a problem with being flat. I hate being flat because I'm somewhat gifted in being roundish for a white dude. Maybe it's my Sicilian genes that give me a little bit of extra oomph. So when I flatten out, it's like the end of the world.
I can imagine.
But you're gonna flatten out when you're in prep. You have no glycogen. You're gonna flatten out. And I have to go super low glycogen to get lean. Really, really low in carbs. I would compensate for it a little bit with a lot of sea salt in my intros, which did make a difference. It would keep me rounder and actually help me train a little better having the salt in there. But that was a bit of a head game. The flatness,
Yeah, no, for sure. It's never a good feeling. I remember like in my first couple preps, like my coach was like, "Oh, you never go flat." But I think it was just because I was too small. I never go flat because you just can't notice it because I'm already flat, right?
I'm one of those people I know that when it's not just like look like compressed, like my shoulders kind of fall off a little bit. They lose the cap on the outside, and you look softer when you're flat because you're not pushing against the skin as much, kind of more relaxed, and then your whole world collapses on you. Like I'm smaller and I'm flatter and like softer at the same time. It's like everything's wrong.
Actually, come to think of it, maybe that was my issue too, just being flat. But the when I get flat, I get like stringy.
Oh, okay.
Like it's a bad look. So, but fortunately, I also happen to be a furnace, so
I got stringy trying to make weight classes. I got stringy.
I don't have that problem. Even this year, I was so that was actually something that or that's one thing I guess, I don't know, that might be interesting or ring home with some people is I was so in my last show they had the old classic physique limits. So for my height, it was 82.9 kilograms. I don't know what that is in pounds. Let's check. So
89.2 kilograms.
89.2.
That's pretty much light heavyweight cutoff, which is like 198.
196. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's not right. 82.9.
82.9. Okay.
82.9. 82.9 was the old cap. So that's 182.
Yeah. Okay.
182 is the old weight cap. I came in at 82 or 81.9. So I thought that even if I were to compete the next year, which was the original plan, so it was 2021 I competed. So I was planning to compete in 2022. I was expecting that I would be hitting the stage at, I would be too big for classic, right? So I thought that, I'd be above 82.9. Then they raised the cap another 5 pounds. So it's 84.9 now, which is
creeping upwards.
187. Yeah. This is actually the third time I think that they've increased it.
Yeah.
So I've had a funny relationship with Classic Physique because I liked Classic Physique because I think originally the cap was 76 kilos, which was like the same as what it was the same cutoff as middleweight.
Yeah.
So this is what it was. It was the same cutoff as middleweight, and it has gone up to the same cutoff as light heavy now. So
yeah.
So it was what's that?
That was my territory, light heavy. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So, but like it cuts up like that's a lot. That's a whole division, right? You know.
Yeah, class. Yeah.
So, so yeah, and that's happened while I've been chasing it, right? So, like okay, I'm just gonna put this weight on, and then I'll be at the cap. The cap moves. Then, okay, I'm gonna be this weight, then I'll be at the cap, and then the cap moves. And so the cap has moved again.
How dare you?
I was fully expecting, so the cap moved actually after my last show. So initially I thought that I had to go up to light heavy because I was already at the top of the class, and I didn't really want to, I didn't feel like I was competitive because I have a wider waist, and I don't know if my look was classic enough for Classic Physique. So I thought that if I put more mass on, then I'd be more like bodybuilding physique. But then they ramped up the cap. So now I'm back in Classic, after saying, oh, I've had enough of this division, can't stand it, I'm going to go do bodybuilding, be hardcore. And then oops, sorry guys, I'm back. But I thought that I would be closer to the cap.
Yeah.
This year. So 84.9 is the cap now for my height. And I thought that I would be much closer to that. But I've already weighed, I woke up this morning at 83.0. So, I don't even know if I'm going to be above the old cap.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really care now, to be honest, because I'm quite happy with my physique and the way that it looks. So if I just get inside out peeled with where I'm at now, I'm going to be quite happy with that look. And if it's not at the cap, it's not at the cap. And yeah, there's a risk that there might be somebody else that shows up that has just squeezed down really hard to make weight and happens to look bigger and better than me. And if that's the case, that's the case. But in terms of where I'm at in my development, I just have to be satisfied with where I am at this moment in time. But I was quite surprised with the lack of growth over 3 years.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm sure that there are people out there that have, I know there's a ton of people that have experienced that because I've heard of a bunch of people staying the same weight when they compete, et cetera, et cetera. So, I understand that, but I think there are a lot of people that put expectations in their head that, oh, next year I'm going to be 10 pounds heavier than this year. You know what I mean? And that's sort of it's almost like progressive overload. It's almost like, I'm going to be benching this by this time, right?
Yeah.
And you just can't do that. Yeah.
Not everybody's the same on that too. Yeah. I mean, I have competed roughly the same weight since I was 19 years old. I always came as a light heavyweight. And so in Japan, when I competed, often they'd have just 2 classes, but the cutoff was at the light heavyweight line.
Right.
So I would come in under light heavyweight. And then when they had actually fixed classes, like in the Amateur Olympia or whatever, or the Japan Pro Qualifiers in 2018, they had real classes I had to slide into. And I was thinking about this just the other day when I was watching some John Jewett's material. Maybe I shouldn't have tried so hard to squeeze under that, especially in my later years here in Japan. As I look at my pictures, now it's fucking stringy. Excuse me, everybody. I probably shouldn't have come in at 89 kilograms. I probably could have come in at like 192 and looked a lot better and felt a lot better and not been flat as a pancake. But I just had this in my mind that I have to slide in under this limit, and I did whatever it took to get there. And that was probably maybe not the right choice.
Sure.
And if it's bodybuilding, it's not, there's no height limits, right? When you have a height limit and a weight limit in Classic, I just had to be at a certain weight. And if I was one of the lighter guys in heavyweight, who cares? I mean, it's not like the heavyweight field is massive in Japan anyway.
Yeah.
So
No, and you're not that tall either. So
no, I'm not. I'm
so
just
by definition, you're going to be one of
so,
the bigger guys on the stage. So
yeah. So I have this little regret now looking back, and maybe I should have done a show at heavyweight, 192, 193.
well, 2025, start prepping now.
It tempted me, man. If I can bring my legs back, and get my waist under control.
Yeah.
I'm still carrying enough tissue that I could pull it off. But
yeah, the waist control thing, that's something I've been trying to work on as well this year, because been doing a lot of vacuums. And it was I can't remember who it was. It was one of Jansen's guys, Charles Griffin. He had a massive waist. Right? And over the course of a year or two, he managed to bring it in tight, and it looks really good now. And apparently that was all from doing vacuums. So, having read success stories like that, and, seen that happen, like, I think that the whole bubble gut thing is no longer an issue in open.
I hope not.
And a lot of it has to do with the fact that I think guys are paying more attention to it, and a lot of the guys are doing more vacuums now. So I think, I think that's one of the things that's really helped. So, very overlooked exercise, but I think it's actually well worth it.
Yeah,
I can see the difference that it's made on me. So especially now that I'm
here. We talked about once, and I tried it diligently for a long time, but it doesn't work on me because my problem's not muscle control. It's the
actual connection.
Distension. It's distension, because I think a SIBO or something like gas all the time. It's like a basketball. It's always hard. And it won't go down no matter what I do.
Wow. Yeah.
Except when I was in the hospital once for 7 days on antibiotics, it went down. So that tells me something.
That's, again, not the approach we want to use.
Yeah. So, but that is incredibly frustrating, because no matter what you do with the rest of your physique, if your waist is blown out because of distension, it's ruined. So, I'd love, if I get that under control someday, I'd come back and do a master's show.
Actually, I remember, like, the guy that used to be the head judge at the FWJ shows here. He literally, that's the first thing he looks at.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And if you had crappy abs, you were off to the side right away. Like he just, and I'm just like, what? Because there's so much extra to the physique other than that. But that was just his thing. Yeah. And he was open about it too. Like, he would say in his seminars, the second you walk on the stage, the first thing I'm looking at is your abs. Yeah. So make sure that your abs are, they're what create the impression. Make sure that they're good. Yeah. He teased me about it when I came back for the Japan Open in 2018. Because I did my first show. I won the first show, the beat Sasaki. But I had the beginning of a hernia and diastasis recti at the time. And I asked him after the show, what can I do to be better? I won, but what can I do to be better? And he said, be careful, because you have a hernia starting. Yeah. Stop lifting so heavy. Back off. And I was like, I can't. I love it. He's like, just do it, Well, over time. Thank God he's not going to be judging me this year then, because
he came up to me and when I was in the summit, and the whatever, the athlete check-in, came up to me and tapped me in the stomach. He's like, how you doing, kind of thing. Before we went up on stage, I was like, I'm doing all right, But but I acknowledge, that my issue is a real issue. So fair enough. But I knew how particular he was about that from experience.
But he's no longer there. So we'll see how the other judges see it. I don't know. We'll see. As I said, like, I try not to stress too much about the placing and the local ones, because often I can be an orange in an apple contest or whatever. So 20-something Japanese, 20-something, 30-something, 20-something Japanese guys, and then 48-year-old white guy.
That's where I was in 2018, and I won. So
it's just kind of the if you're not significantly better than the other guys, then it's very difficult. So or you may have been significantly better, but I'm not. So,
but I had the 1997 JBBF experience, Mr. Saitama, where I was significantly better,
and still got.
I got third place, and the magazine pictures showed it, and that was
that's frustrating. That I would say is a little bit different, though, because JBBF is a very different organization.
It's special.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I would not touch that with a 10-foot pole.
No.
And it's great to just see them kind of it's funny because they're still popular amongst the Japanese competitor crowd because they have a stranglehold over golds, right? And that kind of stuff. But it's interesting to see them just sort of fading from relevance, like, especially now, like that FWJ is getting like bigger, and the athletes there for various reasons are arguably more impressive. It's interesting to see the attention being drawn much more that way as opposed to the JBBF ones. So.
We could go on this forever, but I just want to touch this last thing because we talk about JBBF. And just for me, I don't know, like not every bodybuilder has to compete. And it doesn't have to be always about winning. Some just go have fun, right? And that's all that kind of thing. But for me, if you're going to be part of a federation, there has to be some kind of point of what to do next. And I guess that's what FWJ, formerly MPCJ, connected to IFBB, they have that. Like, there's a place to go. You can get your pro card and you can do something with it. 99% of the people don't do anything with it. They never compete against other pros, or they get destroyed by the pros, and that's their choice. But the athlete should have some option to do something after this. And JBBF doesn't offer that. It reminds me a little bit of like the AAU in America, the 1980s and 1990s. You win Mr. America, and then what?
Right. So
there's nothing for you to do,
JBBF is affiliated with the IFBB Elite Pro League, which is the European one, which is like, it's such the B show, it's not even funny.
I know.
Like the champions there are just lower tier guys that would have a hard time at a regional show in an NPC or in a IFBB Pro League show. In an IFBB Pro League show, they wouldn't even make first call out. There's no question about that. And again, it's just one of those like old federations that's still hanging around. That is largely irrelevant. But and one thing that I found is quite interesting is I was under the impression that some of the Japanese bodybuilders that I had seen, women, men, whatever, were pros because they had won a pro card. But oftentimes in that league, they don't take it. They don't take the pro card. And the reason why they don't take it is because they want to continue to be able to compete at JBBF.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because JBBF is only recognized in Japan. You don't have to go against foreigners. It's natural. So, it's like it's a uniquely Japanese atmosphere. So, there are a community of people that that's their be all end all, and they don't give a shit about the global standard, and they just win their little local league here and have the bragging rights amongst their little community, and
they have a little piece of paper to show that they won a contest.
Their awards certificate.
It's interesting. It is.
It's a different culture. That's not what. That's definitely. I'm not about like the only thing I care about is how I look against guys my age. That's all I care about. I don't care if that makes me a pro. I don't care if that keeps me as an amateur. I don't. But the thing is like, if I'm going to try to go after a dream or a goal or a pursuit, it's to be comparable to the top guys my age. That's all I'm shooting for. And I don't know if that's all I'm shooting for. Like, that's still a pretty big ask, right? But, that's what I want to go for. And like that to me is much bigger than just Japan, because that's the whole reason why I didn't compete in Masters in Japan, because I didn't find that the level of competition was good enough.
It's not. Some nice guys in there, but it's not competitive.
I don't sense that these guys are like pushing themselves, trying to improve every year. It's more like, I'm going to do this again and it'll be fun.
It's just a hobby, basically. I got the sense. Which is fine. I get that. That's totally fine. But
totally fine.
You, myself, want something a little bit more. Like, want to be part of something bigger. That has a purpose.
And get a little bit more like self-satisfaction, out of it, or like a sense of a goal, a sense of direction, a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Disappointment, all that stuff that comes with it too, right?
Yeah, for sure. But you can't get those things if you're doing stuff at what is a lower level. You won't get any of those feelings. So
no, and that's why, like, I often tell, like, so I'm fortunate to be friends with some of the top competitors locally here, right? And it's like, I always tell them that the end goal is not here, right? And you, like, sometimes when people are chasing pro cards, they're like, oh, I just want to win an easy show. Like, well, why do you want to win an easy show?
Right.
Like, it's not going to do shit, right? Like, you're going to win an easy show, you're going to think you're better than you are, and then you're going to go get smashed by someone else.
Yeah.
Right. And on top of that, where does the feeling of accomplishment come from if you won your pro card in an easy show?
Right. Yeah.
Like, I don't see where the satisfaction of that.
Go on.
Yeah, because and I was lucky because I actually got to experience that my very first show. My very first show, I went up and there was a guy, I think I shared this story, where in my origin story, where, like, it looked like the guy screwed up and entered the competition instead of buying a spectator ticket.
Yeah. Yes. I recall.
Yeah, and it was like, me, who had prepped and all that sort of stuff, and him, and even then, I mean, I was like, obviously, this was my first competition. I wasn't huge. I looked okay for where I was at, but certainly not really, like, impressive by bodybuilding standards. But up against this guy who looked like a normal dude that just put trunks on, like, did not diet at all, did not tan. He was pasty white.
Issues there, I think.
No, there was, I think there was, so yeah, it was, but, like, that was such an unrewarding experience, and it almost felt like I didn't even talk about the win in that show. I talked more about my third placing in the open bodybuilding, because that was more important to me, and that was more valuable. Because the other two guys were clearly better than me, and it was great to be in the top 3 and compared with those guys and all that. And that's what gave me the hope and the motivation. It wasn't by beating this dude that walked in off the street.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, my first real show, I'll probably close up with this myself. My first real show was the New England Championships in New England, of course. And that was the show where I ultimately competed against Don DeMeo, which is Paul DeMeo's younger brother, who looked just like him. I was light heavyweight. He was heavyweight teen. He ended up winning overall teen, of course, and also the men's as a heavyweight. I was light heavyweight, and I beat a kid in light heavyweight who wasn't as bad as what you're talking about, but I pretty handily beat him. And that was good. I won. I got the class win. But taking second to Donnie was far more special to me than trouncing the other kid.
Absolutely.
Because it's just more meaningful. It's more of an accomplishment. Even taking second place is more of an accomplishment.
Absolutely.
So totally understand what you're saying. Yeah. I would like to see that come back. I think that's not as much a thing anymore.
We'll seems to be much more focused on just getting the card.
Getting a card, even just getting a piece of acrylic plastic that says they did some show or something like that. Things are different. Back in the old days when you had 2 pro cards a year in America.
A year, exactly. Well, I mean, even until just a couple of years ago, Canada had 1 pro card a year.
That's the way it should be, man. That's the way it should be. But then, I don't know.
Well, but what's not fair is when it's 1 pro card in Canada and then 500 in the US, right? Like,
a
bit of an imbalance.
Gone funky.
Indeed.
But anyway, I think talking about pro cards could be a fun discussion someday. I think,
Oh yeah, sure.
At the risk of sounding like an old curmudgeon, because I will come across that way. But I have opinions. So
Well, okay, let's not bring it up, because if we're trying to close up the conversation, if I say anything about it, we're gonna be on another hour. So
but this is a good chat. I enjoyed this, Craig. I like that. We could do this more often, I think.
Sounds great.
Okay. Well, you take care. I'm sure you need a meal.
I'm
gonna get my meal in. Even though I'm not hungry, but I'll do it anyways.
Oh, nice. I'm starving, and yes, I'm definitely getting one in. Yeah.
All right. You take care, and everybody else out there, like, subscribe, let us know what you want to hear. If you like this style, please let us know. We'd be happy to do it more. It's fun for us. Hopefully it's fun for you to listen to as well. Okay.
Thanks a lot.
See you next time.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Cheers. Bye.